What does a better workday mean to you? And how do you achieve it? This is the Better Workday podcast. I'm Niamh Moynihan, and today we're talking about creating a better workday. This episode is long overdue, yet I think it's arriving at the perfect time. We're heading into the summer months, which usually allows us a little bit more space for reflection and an opportunity to think about how you can make some changes to your workday, whether that's for yourself, for your team, or maybe even for your wider organisation, which would be brilliant. And so in this episode, what I want to do is explain what a better workday is and how you go about achieving it. And then over the next few weeks, I'm going to share the different elements of the Better Workday framework so that you can implement them in your day or the wider working day. So we'll start with what is a better workday? Well, I've been fortunate enough to ask well over 3,000 people this question, right? Either in pre-workshop surveys, speaking with people one-to-one, getting feedback in a room. And funnily enough, it all comes back to the same three things time and time again. Now, of course, there's nuances depending on the seniority of the team that I'm dealing with or the industry, of course, but the underlying statements, they're always the same. So this is what they are. A better workday, according to well over 3,000 people that I've spoken to, is a day where, first of all, you look forward to work. And sometimes that's because of the work itself. Maybe you find it really rewarding, very engaging, very interesting, very challenging. Or sometimes it's because of the people that you work with. So maybe the work is only all right. You know, it's fine. But actually you love working with your team. You find it really enjoyable. You find it really rewarding, the people that you work with. So that's the first thing. So whether it's the work itself, the people that you work with, or both, you look forward to work most of the time. And then the second pillar or the second element of a better workday is a day where you actually get things done. Now, this sounds simple, doesn't it? A day where you do your job. But you and I both know it is not as easy as it sounds. If it was, I wouldn't have a job, because all day long we're presented with friction and obstacles that prevent us from just doing what we are supposed to be doing. Of all the things that people want to do, that's the one that comes up the most. I just want to do my work. I just want to do my job. And so a better workday is a day with less friction that allows us to get on what we need to be doing. And the third part of it is a better workday is a day where you feel a sense of accomplishment when you wrap up work for the day so that you can switch off and enjoy the rest of your life, whatever that is. And I suppose this kind of talks to this more recent situation where, because we can work anywhere at any time, if we don't have a clear sense of enough, that we have done our job for the day, that we've achieved what we want to achieve, some people find it really hard to disconnect. And so it feels like you're on all the time. Or maybe that you've been working so hard during the day without rest, without a break, without any moment to pause and re-energize yourself, that by the time you finish the workday, you're completely wiped. So a better workday is a day where you can, do what you need to do, but without completely wearing yourself down, okay? Without having nothing left in the tank. And so they're the three parts of it, or the three elements of it, however you want to phrase it, of a better workday. And it's funny because each of these on their own sound, as I said, pretty simple, pretty foundational, but they're not always easy. And so all of the work that I do is actually trying to help people to improve those areas. And the question I have for you today is, of those three, a day where you look forward to the job, a day where you make progress, and a day where you can switch off, which of those is the area that you'd like to focus on over the next couple of weeks? And from that, from knowing what a better workday is, the next thing is, how do we create it? And for me, it's about continuous improvement. There's a reason my business is called Better Workday. This is called the Better Workday podcast. My workshops all have the word better in them. That's because we're looking for continuous improvement, not perfection. Okay? I'm not here trying to teach you or trying to help you create the perfect, flawless work environment, because you and I both know they don't exist. And if they do, they only exist for a period of time. They're not sustainable. There are too many factors outside of our control to create the perfect environment. And honestly, I think it'd be a little bit boring. So what we want to do is focus on getting better every single day, on continually improving. And to do that, and this is the thing now, to do that, you have to be willing to try. You have to be willing to experiment, and it also means you have to be willing to make mistakes and to fail. So often I see teams and individuals who are terrified of failure. They would rather continue doing things the long way, the slow way, the broken way, than to try and fix it and have that not work out as people expect. And of course, I understand that when you have products and services to deliver that we can't compromise on serving our customers and our clients, you have to at some point ask yourself, how can things change if I'm not willing to make any change? And so we have to create these experiments within our workday where we choose one area that we want to improve. We decide what an improvement would look like. So what does better look like? And then we try, we experiment, we play. And so this will look different depending on your job and your team and your industry. And I'm not going to give you specific examples because I don't want to, I suppose, close down the loop. Okay. I want to keep it open for you. And the question I want you to think about now is, having asked already, what does a better workday mean to me? What area could I focus on? Now I want you to ask yourself, what is one experiment I could run over a period of 4 to 6 weeks that will allow me to see if I can improve this area of the workday? All right. It could be experimenting with reducing meetings. It could be experimenting with changing your communication style. It could be experimenting with changing how you plan and prioritize your work. It could be anything. But it's about deciding, what area you're going to focus on, and then, what success will look like over there. And also, to be honest, what will it look like if it's failing? And can you catch that early? Because if the experiment is failing, of course, we could cut it short. Now, you might be afraid and say, Niamh, I can't experiment in my work because, we've got a product to deliver, we've got a service to deliver, we've got regulations to comply with. And I completely understand that. But there's always a way, there's always maybe a pocket or part of your work that you can experiment within. So there's the concept called A/B testing, where you would run both processes at the same time and then you compare the results. So you could do that. You could keep your current process or your current way of working for the majority of things and then try out a new way and just see how that looks. But the main thing I want you to understand here is that it's not about perfection. And it's not about an overnight change, okay? It's not that suddenly we're perfect workday. It's about continually improving and understanding that as humans, anyway, we need time to change. It's not an overnight transformation because that's not sustainable. And then the other thing you need to consider when you're looking to create a better workday is how much you can do on your own and where you need the support from others. When I started doing this work, I was focused on one-to-one coaching and online courses. And I quickly realized that while it's great for one person to improve the way they work, quite often when they go back into the team, that new idea, that fresh way of thinking, those new experiments, they get flattened. Not because the rest of the team don't want to change, it's just they hadn't been on the same journey. And so that's why I evolved into working more with organizations and teams, because I found that if the team all had the same conversation, if they all reached a consensus on a change that had to be made, if they all experimented together and shared their experiences together, it was more likely that they were going to succeed. But then we still hit another ceiling, and I'm sure you can understand this, that even if a team is doing all they can to work better, if the technology and the systems and the processes at an organizational level aren't right, then they'll restrict the amount of progress we can make. And that's why I work with companies at a broader level, using my Better Workday Index and my consulting work to change the underlying conditions of work. Okay, that will allow the team and then also allow the individual to create that better workday. And so I'm not saying this to discourage you to say, oh, you can't make any change on your own. You absolutely can. But I also want to encourage you to have the conversation with the rest of your team and to have the conversation maybe with leaders in your organization about, if you have done an experiment and if it has improved the way you work, how can we scale that so that everybody creates a better workday? When I do my surveys, I ask 2 questions. How can other people help you create a better workday, and how can you help them? And I do think that for sustainable change in companies, we do need to do it together. So that's the other thing that I want you to consider, okay? When you are looking at improvements, absolutely focus on what you can control. I'm a big believer in that, but also how are you going to get other people on board, or how can you be an advocate for creating a better workday in your organization? So that's your food for thought for this week. Next week, as I said, I'm going to start breaking down the different building blocks of the Better Workday framework. And I hope you're going to come along with me over the next couple of weeks as I do that, and maybe take away what you need to start improving your day. All right, that's it for this episode. Until next week, stay well and have a better workday.